We must be very authentic. We must be very honest. We must be very open in our story. When you love and know and accept yourself, it is when you understand what your story means and what it is to be used to do, because that is the ultimate end of the life of someone who wants to leave a legacy.
Damasia, thank you so much for being here always. Please, what is your take on the conversation?
We must reframe our stories so we look at the good parts of our stories through telling the bad parts, because the bad parts are really the lessons, they are really the programs, they are really the victories, they are really the overcoming. These are stories that we cannot change, Obi. They occurred, and that's the thing about stories. Stories are experience, they happen to you. And when persons tell your story for you, this meaning and interpretation and the impact and influence of your story diminishes. And we must never allow persons to tell our story if we want to preserve what is valuable and what is meaningful in our own stories. It fosters our identity, it paves our future, it cultivates our resilience, and it also adds to the body of knowledge and values that people need to overcome.
All right. I want to thank all of you again for joining us. And I want to pass the mic to Dr. Mansia. Dr. Mansia, thank you so much for being here always. Please, what is your take on the conversation?
I'm thankful for being here, and I hope you get better, Gloria. I know you have been ill a little, and I did say you were to enjoy your birthday no matter what. Sorry about that. I am a Christian leadership life coach and consultant. I really help women to preserve themselves through using their stories. And their stories are usually from their vulnerable place to their valuable place. And so they use these vulnerabilities as strength to create their brilliant new beginning, which I call pivoting with power, that involves unmasking your pain, reconnecting with your true self. I take their stories, their disappointments, their failures, I guide them through, because sometimes our stories and our experiences make us feel stuck and very confused about the next step. And so I believe in storytelling as a self-preservation tool. I also help by writing children's stories and turning them into textbooks so persons can look at, visualize themselves as they are, and problem solve and critically think about how they change their outcome and change their life. I recently wrote my book on leadership. It's on Amazon. It's doing well. A Leader Like You, where I get Christian leaders to harness their superpower. And there is one coming out, which is a collaboration with Annie and some of our other friends, Dr. Eva Brown, on the lessons learned from COVID. And so these are stories, these are important things, but they are life. They put us in the position where we ought to be. They make us see, reframe, reflect, reconnect, rebalance, recharge. Those are the highest parts of self-preservation through storytelling. And when we say storytelling, we mean our own stories. Everybody's story. I made a post yesterday that says everybody's story is a part of a bigger narrative. And you are giving your story, your special story, your unique story, because you have been given when you're born your unique assignment and your unique mission and your unique purpose that fits into the crossword puzzle of what we call life. Ultimately, we will have to give an answer on how well we told our stories so that it could impact others and change outcomes and make the world a better place. The African diaspora has a rich tradition of storytelling, and they have used it incredibly well over the last 30 years to as a means of self-preservation. So if we go back to the dates of we want to, because these are stories that we cannot change, Obi, they occurred, and that's the thing about stories. Stories are experience, they happen to you, and when persons tell your story for you, this meaning and interpretation and the impact and influence of your story diminishes, and we must never allow persons to tell our story if we want to preserve what is valuable and what is meaningful in our own stories.
Hello, and thank you for checking out this video. I'm Obehi Ewanfoh, the host of the African Diaspora Storyteller series. Every 2 weeks, we meet up on LinkedIn to talk about different ways we can leverage the power of storytelling as people of African descent. Now, this is it. We are uniting the millions of Africans in the diaspora through the power of our story. It does sound like what you are interested in. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends who might need it. Now, back to today's conversation.
And so when we go back to slavery, when we look at the songs and the oral histories, these were very crucial to remember for maintaining cultural identity. Sometimes when you tell your story and the emotions flood you, the enlightenment, because sometimes our stories start out as very bitter and very overwhelming, but as we begin to tell our story, the enlightenment that comes from immersing ourselves in our own story, from understanding where the lessons that we are being taught from our story, by looking at what we now carry with us as values and gems and nuggets of resilience because of our story and that chapter of our life, we begin to understand that it fosters our identity, it paves our future, it cultivates our resilience, and it also adds to the body of knowledge and values that people need to overcome. And so our stories as a self-preservation not only preserves us, but preserves and protects our children, preserve and protect our environment, preserves and protect our community, and paves a path for future persons understand through your self-preservation, through your story, that it is possible for me. I can do it too. And so the ways in which we tell our story is very important. We must be very authentic. We must be very honest. We must be very open in our story. And we keep saying that if you're going to preserve yourself, then it cannot be that you tell all parts of your story to all and sundry. So it loses its meaning in full connection. It loses its value and it loses its purpose. We must choose the parts of our stories that will make the change that is desired and very relevant in the moment. We must reframe our stories so we look at the good parts of our stories through telling the bad parts, because the bad parts are really the lessons, they are really the programs, they are really the victories, they are really the overcoming, the bad parts, the parts that make us uncomfortable, the parts that make we remember who we are, the parts that make us now show up unapologetically, confidently, and with enough clarity to understand our purpose and our direction. The part that makes us know that no matter what you say or do will not change me. I have come through greater, and no weapon that is put in front of me now can prosper. I know who I am. And that is the thing about story and self-preservation. It is inside of you. It permeates your space and it gives you your power. When you understand your story, you take back your power, you own your outcome, and you change your circumstance. That is not anybody's right. It is your right, because it is your story. It was given to you. You lived it, and you learned from it, and you must now proclaim claim it in such a way that other people are led to understand what their story means and how it becomes the composite whole of the parts that they are carrying so that they can carry it well and proudly and with honor, and they can share it with maturity and grace and dignity. And that in itself can preserve the hurts and the disparities that comes up in other people's story that create bias and prejudices. When you love and know and accept yourself, it is when you understand what your story means and what it is to be used to do, because that is the ultimate end of the life of someone who wants to leave a legacy. Your story, what you did with your story, and why you are still standing and telling that story even when you have passed. That is my first take on this topic. Very, very personal for me.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Marcia. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's powerful. That is actually going to the depth of the conversation.